everyone, welcome back to the channel. So if you have been following along, you will have known that 2 weeks ago we went ahead and started up our crochet project again, and I went ahead and showed you the moss stitch, which was super fun, and I honestly love the texture that this one really gives. This time around, so today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to do what is called the rice stitch, which I also like to call it the waffle weave, but honestly, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to be using this brown, a light tan brown for this project in order to really get some really nice texture. If you have one of those yarns that like change from color to color, like ombres into different colors, I definitely recommend using that type of yarn for this particular stitch. I don't have any yarn like that, so I'm just using what I have on hand. All my yarn most of my yarn actually is from Dollar Tree, all except for a couple of them, which I think is this piece right here and this piece here. Those two are not. Those are from Hobby Lobby. Anyways, but if you go into your local thrift store, you can always find someone had donated some yarn. You can usually get it pretty cheap, like 5-6 balls of yarn for a couple dollars. So I definitely recommend popping into a thrift store to find some yarn, because again, this is just a practice blanket. So let's get started. I actually last time cut off my end piece, so we're starting fresh today. So I'm just gonna pull this up like that and find an area to pull this through, and then pull both of those through and make sure I pull the end piece through that. There, I have inserted that. Then I'll take this piece and I'm going to hold that to the back with my fingers. We're going to work around it so it's just weaved into our work. I'm going to go ahead and chain one. That first knot doesn't really count because it's kind of the securing knot, whatever. So we'll chain one, and we're going to just go ahead and start our row off by chaining into just a single crochet, a single stitch. I want to do this all the way across, and this will just get my pattern started. Now, since we have our blanket started already, you could skip this step and go straight into row 1. And it's going to be a little bit less confusing doing this with the tail. So once we got the tail part weaved in there, we'll go to the next row and actually start the pattern. So as you can see, I wasn't using proper tension. This loop is way bigger than the others, but that's no worries. You can just literally maneuver it around like this and pull it tight and pull this working yarn, and it should just kind of work itself back in. But again, this is a practice blanket, so it's not a big deal for me. But to avoid those big loops, if you're trying to avoid that, pull the working yarn as close, pull it like this so that your loop is pretty close, like this, snug up like that. If you have it like this, you're obviously going to have a looser loop. So pull it closer, then insert your hook and see, pull that working yarn, then loop around. See, now it's closer loop. I hope that helps a little bit, because I know some of you guys struggle with the tension of the yarn. So the last video, that's kind of why I recommended using a larger hook, so that your loops will kind of automatically be just a little bit larger, and it will help you see what you're doing. You don't have to like use this teeny little hook, because this can take forever and it feels like it's so small. But I did go with a medium size for doing this project. I picked a size 6. So we'll just kind of do a single crochet all along I went ahead and finished the row off camera. So I did kind of go pretty fast, as you can see. It looks like I skipped some. Anyways, so typically you would want to start out with an odd number of stitches. However, because our blanket is so long, it's like 5 or 6 feet long, I didn't want to sit here and count all of these. If you want to, go ahead and do it. You're going to be better off with an odd number. So anyways, I will show you at the end. You'll kind of see why here as we get going, why we need odd numbers of stitches. If I don't, for some reason, have an odd number when I get to the end, I will just show you what I'm going to do to adjust the pattern a little bit. So go ahead and chain 1 once you're done doing that. Now this little chain does not count as a stitch. So once you got it there, go ahead and turn your work around. Alright, so make sure you got that tension pretty good. Like pull this working yarn with your finger so it is around the hook pretty well. So we are going to be counting 3 stitches in and then placing a double crochet stitch. So again, this one on right here doesn't count. That's not a stitch. That's just chain 1. So right here is actually the first one. Cause see, this is kind of pointing upwards. So you'd count 1, 2, 3. So right here, go ahead and place in your hook. And then you want to pull that working yarn, make sure it's tight. Oh wait, sorry. 1, 2, 3. Loop around. Place in to the stitch. Okay, again, we are creating a double crochet. If you forgot how to do that, go ahead and rewatch the video on how to do that. But we're going to be doing that all the way across. So this pattern, this rice stitch pattern, combines the double crochets, half double crochets, as well as front and back post crochet stitches. So hopefully you guys are up for this challenge. So these first 2 stitches will not count as a stitch right now. So now we're going to be placing into every single stitch that we made a double crochet stitch. So that's loop around through the stitch, put your yarn over, pull through. Then you got 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And just continue doing that. So we are creating double crochet stitches. Go ahead and finish this in every single one, all the way down. And I will get to the end and show you guys, oops, what am I doing? I'll get to the end and show you guys exactly what to do in the next row. This is row 1. Alright, I just went ahead and approached the very last stitch here on the end, and I did a double crochet here. So now the end here, we're going to go ahead and chain 1 and turn our work around. Alright, so in row 2, we're actually going to be inserting a half double crochet into the first stitch. Now again, this was not a stitch, this was just a chain. So a half double is going to be where we loop around, and right here is actually that first stitch. This one right here. This one is not it. That's the one we just did. That's a chain 1. Here is the stitch. So go ahead and insert into the stitch, loop around and pull through. We have 3 loops. Now a half double is actually loop around and pull through all 3 of those loops. So there is our half double, and then we will continue. So from here on, we're actually going to be starting with a front post stitch, a front post crochet stitch here. So again, we're looking at these pieces instead of like up here. These are the posts. And a front post is going to be loop around. So right through here, see I'm in that space, loop around, pull through, and then finish it off with the 2 and then the 2. That will create another post for the next row. So remember to do that. Then we're going to alternate this front post with the back post. Loop around, turn your work facing forward, like down. Make sure this loops on your hook. And right here is that next stitch where my thumb is. So I'm going to pull that out so we can easily see it. Go right under it, the back post, loop around, pull through. It's kind of tricky. There we go. We got 3 loops, loop around, pull through 2, loop around, pull through 2. And then we'll go with the front post. Loop around, front post, loop around, pull through 2, loop around, pull through 2, loop around, back post. So in case you forgot how to do these, I will go ahead and also link the front post and back post video where I showed you guys how to do that. I believe it was this video here where we alternated this basket weave texture by doing front and back every 3. But this one is every 1, and it can get a little tricky. Just take your time with it, remembering what type of stitch, because we are doing multiple stitches in this pattern. We're doing the front, we're doing the back, we're doing the half double. It can just be a little confusing. And if you're kind of stuck, like I don't know where I left off, just look at your pattern that you've just done. We've done front, back, front, back, front, back, front. So then this one would be a back. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish this again off camera, all the way down. We're gonna be creating front, back on these posts. All right, so I am finishing up the row. Now, when you end on a row, you actually should end with a front post as well, but here I have a back post. So I'm actually just going to create a front post around the same post in order to end with a front post. I know this is a little weird, but we have to end with a front post. So that's what's going to happen. Now, the end here, we're actually going to be creating right in here. We're going to end off the row with a half double. So around, and we're going to find right here just the first 2 pieces, pull through, and then pull through all 3. And that completes the row. Go ahead and chain 1, and then turn the work. And then we're going to start the same way. We're going to start with a half double. So around, and again, it's not through that chain 1, it's through right here, the first stitch. Pull through all 3, loop around, and then as you can see, these pieces are starting to bunch downwards. We want to like pull them upwards a bit like this so we can see our posts. And again, we're going to be starting with the front post. So this one right here is where we'll be starting. The front post. And then the next one will go to do a back post. So we're basically alternating again, except we want to make sure that we are putting our front posts on the ones that are facing here, and the ones in the back. The ones in the front, they're going to get a back post to kind of, it's going to basically push that post. It's like forward and then backward. And then we'll just continue doing this all the way down. And that's pretty much the pattern. So you can do however many rows of this you would like to finish off. I'm probably going to do this row, maybe one more row, because I don't want to create such a big, thick area, because I wanted to try and keep every single one about the same size. And this one's already pretty much there, but you can totally see the texture that this creates, which is why I was kind of mentioning that waffle weave look. I think this is so pretty. I love how it goes over and under in all these directions. It looks really, really cool. That is the rice stitch. And I will be leaving a link down below to the original video where I learned this stitch. That way, in case I am not explaining it well enough, you can head on over to her channel and check out how she explains it. She does it pretty well. Her name is Robin. I am finishing up the 4th row. I did a whole nother row off camera, and I want to point out that we always finish off with a front post. So right here would be our last post, and it goes in the front just like that. And then the very last stitch will be a half double. So you're just going through 2 pieces here, loop around, and loop around and pull through all 3. And then you would stitch 1 and do the same thing. You always end and start a row with a half double. So you would do your half double and continue the pattern. So this is what it looks like. Definitely gives that waffle texture I was talking about. I think it's so pretty. I like the square holes, and I love how square each stitch does look. So I think this is pretty. I think this would be really good to create like a little bag or something that you would take to the grocery store to put your groceries or something in. I don't know. I just love the texture. So give this a try. If you have any questions, leave them below. And I will also link the other video so you guys can check her video out and just kind of make sure that you're on the same page with this stitch. If you can't complete it, go ahead and just pick one of your favorites we've already done. And you can always come back to this later on once you get more practice. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.